In this video, we are looking at how you can sync your references in Zotero to a Coda table together with the authors. So in Coda, we have two tables, references and authors. They are related with each other. And we will use an automation in make or a scenario to add references just like this, where each reference is a row in this table. And each reference will also have the authors associated with it. And that happens after a few seconds. And that is like this, where this author has a page in the authors table. And you can see all the references or items that you have saved for that author over time, because one author can have many references and one reference can have multiple authors. Like in this example, where conscientiousness has multiple authors that are being added by the scenario. So if you are interested in implementing this, now I will explain how things are set up in Coda and in Make to make everything work in an automated way, where you can sync your references from Zotero to Coda through Make, so that if you want to take notes or work on the data, Coda might be a better system rather than the standard Zotero database, because it is more flexible and you can customize the table as you wish. The first component of this whole system is Coda. And in Coda, we have two tables created here in this Coda doc called References Management. That's a very simple version. And these tables have the same fields or attributes as the Zotero database or table that you get in the background. So there is a references table where we have the title, notes, edited time, credit time, the abstract, authors, that's a relation column, the publication title, date, reference pages, URL, DOI, and the Zotero key, that is a unique identifier that we use to make sure that no duplicates are created in this table. The authors table as well is a quite simple table, and I created this table using the / command table, and then starting from blank, and then creating a relation column as well between the two tables. You can also find a link to this Coda doc in the description if you want to directly copy it. The authors table has the name, first name, last name, notes, and references, that is a relation column. In Zotero, we are pulling data from a specific collection. Collections are sort of folders in Zotero where you can organize your references or items, that's what they are called, in specific buckets. So if you're working on a specific paper, that is a collection where you can save multiple references or items. So in this case scenario, we are pulling data from a specific collection of your choice. And if you want to pull data from multiple collections, that is also possible. You can merely duplicate your scenario or automation in Make and change the collection ID where you pull data from. So the third tool that makes everything work together is Make, and that is an automation software where we are creating this scenario that pulls data from a Zotero collection and adds that data to a Coda doc with the references and the authors attached. The trigger of this scenario is an HTTP module, and that's because the Zotero app is not natively supported within Make yet. So we can do an HTTP request following the Zotero API endpoints and documentation to the following endpoint here. So api.zotero.org, then we have /users, and this is the user ID, which you can get in Zotero from settings. You can go to feeds and API, and you get the user ID right here. /collections, /collection ID, and you can get the collection ID from the URL of the collection once you click on it in Zotero. /items, meaning let's get all the items from this collection. And then we add URL parameters to make sure that we get the results sorted by date modified descending, so that the latest references are always output first. And we have a limit of 10 items at a time. And this is arbitrary. I just put this limit for this demonstration. You can raise this limit as high as you like it to be within the ranges of the Zotero API documentation that you can find in the endpoint. The method is get because we are getting data from this collection. And in the headers, you can add a header and the name will be authorization. And then you can add bearer space and you get the API token that you can create in Zotero from your settings, feeds and API. You can create a new private key, copy that key and paste it in here, because that is an authorization method to make sure that you have the access to that Zotero account. The body type is raw, content type JSON application/JSON, and make sure to also choose yes in parse response. And all the other settings are left with the default settings. So once you've done, you can click OK, and that is set up. Next up, we have an iterator module, because as you can see here, when we get the data is nested within an array called data, where we have all the 10 items that we get back from the Zotero API. So the iterator allows us to split that data nested within the array into separate bundles so that we can process them one by one in the upcoming modules. And you can see this is what it looks like. Each item becomes a bundle. And when we get these bundles that are separate, then each bundle will be processed separately in the upcoming steps. And the third step in this scenario is the list rows module from the Coda app. So you can search for Coda here. And once you do that, you will find the Coda app in the list. I have it already here. And in here, you will choose list rows, which you can find right here. And we are listing the rows because first we want to check that that reference or item is not already in our Coda table. Because if it is, we do not want to create a duplicate. And that is why we use list rows. And then if nothing is found, that is a filter, meaning total number of bundles equal to 0. So nothing is found, then continue and create that reference. Otherwise, stop here because we already have that and we don't need a duplication. And you can see that list rows module is set up in this way. The first thing that you will need to do, if you haven't done that already, is to connect your Coda account in Make. And you can follow the steps once you click on Add. There will be a pop-up module with all the steps that you can follow to connect your Coda account. And you can grab your API key from your account settings in Coda. In this case, we then select the doc ID, which you can map or enter manually, or you can choose from the drop-down menu. In my case, that is the references management doc. The table that I'm interested in is the references table because that's where I want to search for the item. Limit 2, that is how many rows I want to have returned if something is found. And the query, that is what filter do you want to use. In this case, we are looking for Zotero key, column, data key, that is mapped from the iterator, and that's the key here. So once that is done, you can click OK and then add the filter that says total number of bundles equal to 0, that is here. And if that's the case, then we add a Coda module that is create a row where we create that reference or item in the Coda table. So here again, you will select your connection that you already established before. You can select the doc, references management. The table will be references, and you can map the values from the iterator into the Coda table columns. So you have the title, and you're going to map the title. Notes, that is a custom field or column that I created in the Coda table to make sure that you have the ability to take notes on a specific item or reference if you want. Then you have Zotero key that is mapped here. Abstracts, publication title, date, reference pages, DOI, and the authors for now is still empty because that's gonna be a task that we want the automation to perform later on down the line in the upcoming steps. Once you've mapped all the values, you can click OK and continue with the next module that is iterate authors. And that is because if you see in the iterator here, let's look at, for example, the first, that is conscientiousness, that is an item. And you can see that creators, that is authors, is an array field data type in Zotero. And that means that if we want to pass each author to Coda, we need to make sure that we create one bundle per author, whether it be one or multiple authors. In this case, for example, the creators array is composed of multiple authors, collections within it. So the iterate authors is an iterator that you can find here. And we iterate the creators field from the iterator, that is this one. Once that is done, we have a sleep module, and that's because while doing some tests, I noticed that the upsert row module would get into errors if there were too many requests at a time. And that's why we have a sleep module that you can find under tools, sleep, and we make it sleep or pause for 10 seconds, and then continue with the last module in this make scenario, that is upsert a row, the Coda module, where you can open it and you can set up this module with the intention of either creating a new author or updating the values of an existing author in the authors table within your Coda doc. So the doc is references management, table is authors. We use a key column, that is the name. The key column is what Coda looks for when searching for this author. And if there is someone who has the same name that the API is searching for, that means we update that row. If there is nothing found, we create that author. And that's what this upsert row endpoint does. And we have the columns with the first name, space, last name, and these are mapped from the iterate authors iterator. We have the first name here, last name there, notes, that is a custom field that I created in the Coda table, and references, we map the title from the first iterator, as you can see there, that is moving on the left hand side. So we map the title from here. And that creates a relation between authors and references or items. And that's all there is to it. That is how the scenario or automation works. And once we make it run, you will see that it will populate the Coda tables automatically after a few seconds once the modules are parsed through. And that is how the Coda tables might look like once they are populated. That is the references table with all the items here. You can open each item, see the abstract and all the other data, and you can also take notes here on the canvas. The authors table has all the authors listed in here with all the references, first name, last name, and here as well you have a notes column where you can take notes. In addition, these tables are searchable, so you can also look the search feature in here to search for specific metadata, and you can also filter quickly based on this filter bar at the very top of the table. To create new references manually, you can click this button, and the same for authors, where you can select this button. Really, that is all there is to this automation. You will find all the relevant links in the description of this video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.